Hello. Oh, hear you.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, what are you grateful for today?
I'm grateful for the sound.
Fantastic. This is our first time doing a live gratitude gathering on YouTube. And so I thought maybe we could take a moment and share a little bit about how we came to create the gratitude gatherings in the first place. And what happened back 7 years ago was I was in the landmark education wisdom course, and I was trying to figure out how can I spread the messages of wisdom that I know and love. And I was brainstorming with one of my study groups about how we can share the message of wisdom and transformation and leadership and love with people in a really fun way. So we came up with this idea back in March of 2013 to have gratitude social events. Do you remember that?
Do I remember?
Yeah, do you remember when we were having gratitude social events?
Yeah, they're still marked in parts in my calendar and as repeating events.
So do you remember when we did some gratitude social events at your house and people would bring the potlucks and the food?
Oh, mm-hmm.
Um, do you want to share anything with our audience today about what you liked about the gratitude gatherings when they were done in person before we did them online and virtual?
Well, it's the part of being together, physically in each other's presence and feeling each other's energy and contribution in a very visceral way,
Yeah,
and feeding one another. You
yeah,
know, food is fabulous. When people do a potluck, they bring things they love and they like to share it with other people. I like to share it with other people. Right now, I just finished putting the ingredients together for a new variety of Passover vegetable soup. We'll see what that's like for tomorrow night.
that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Um, so we have someone else joining us from Encinitas, California. Her name is Maryl, and she is in the Wealth and Impact Boot Camp that I'm taking with Marcus Bell. So
Okay.
I'm going to have her join in here with us and share her gratitude.
What's happened doing it on YouTube, honey? What's happened to other people?
Well, we are the people who've showed up so far. So welcome, Maryl.
Ones we've been waiting for. Okay.
Welcome, Maryl. Welcome to the gratitude gathering. We're actually live together today on YouTube. We're doing this as an experiment, and it's great to have you here. I was just sharing with everybody that you're here. You and I are connected through the Wealth and Impact Boot Camp, and you're coming to us all the way from Encinitas, California. Is that right?
So I am.
It's
I
great.
know where Encinitas. My uncle and aunt lived there for a while.
They did. Yeah, I live by the ranch. It's called the ranch. So it's there's rolling hills, and it's called an agri neighborhood. So we got lots of farming communities, and yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's wonderful. Lots of horses, and
They lived there many years ago. I don't think they would be commenting about farming communities and horses, but that.
well, this area, and they turned it into a golf course too. So it's kind of a weird kind of pocket. It's fun.
I am so thankful that you came to join us, and I'm so excited to introduce you to my mom, Miriam Hawley. Miriam is,
Hi, Miriam.
yeah, Miriam and Maryl are both authors. And I'm curious if you guys want to tell each other about your books, because it's a huge part of your contribution and my gratitude for each of you and what you're doing in the world. I would love to just jump in and talk about the books that we're grateful for, and ideally talk about the books you wrote first.
Oh, sure.
Go ahead, Meryl.
Hi. All right. Sure. My name is Maryl Petreccia, and I am a best-selling author. The book is called, sorry about that, got a gap there. The book is called GPS to Joy. And the subtitle is Navigate Life's Turbulence and Toughest Transitions to Find Your New Direction.
Oh,
This
fabulous.
book,
Perfect.
yeah,
Perfect for today.
yeah, say that again.
Perfect for today.
Yes, this book is, frankly, you might as well, it's like got all the tools you need to really navigate what's happening now. I mean, like being in the unknown, not knowing who's going to live and who's going to die, what's going to come tomorrow, when you're going to be free to move again. That's the book. The book understands that and helps us to operate inside of those circumstances powerfully to really bolster our inner reserves and find alignment inside and do what we can while we kind of wait for the smoke to clear.
So Maryl, when did you write this book and what motivated you to?
Sure. It took me about 3 years to write the book. And, in the last several years, I went through 9 extreme losses and major life transitions. And that included a number of things, but I lost my father, and then I lost my mother who had dementia and was also paralyzed. So, and then I lost my husband, my dear husband, to brain cancer. He happened to have been an infectious disease specialist, so it was a particularly poignant time to remember that. So I was a caregiver for all 3 people. They died consecutively. And, and so all the roles that I had, from wife to mother to daughter to caregiver to business owner, all of those roles, I took them on with a gusto, and then in a moment they were gone. So after all the 9 losses and transitions, including losing all my roles and all the things that I defined my life by, I really had a clear slate, like blank slate. Like I really had to ask myself, what's the point of continuing? Like, is there even a point? Like, life is good. I've lived it. The people that I love have gone, moved on. I've had a great life. Why carry on? And that was something that I also had to deal with, like, just the emotion of all of that. So what motivated me to write the book, excuse me, was working through that process. And in speaking to somebody who was a passion coach, like pursue your passions, and she would help you kind of unfold those. She said, do you realize that you actually have a system that you use for each one of those losses? Like, you actually found your way through. Have you ever backward engineered that and, and put it into words? So that was the start of it. And I called it at first Becoming the Woman of Your Dreams, because I had been the woman that everybody else needed me to be. So this was the first time in my life where I actually could imagine and create who I wanted and what I wanted in my life. Wow. So I started as Becoming the Woman of Your Dreams. And inside that, I created a process. And then I thought, let me just see if this process works. So I talked to 100 different people that were going through something really big, or have gone through something big, or had a big breakdown, and I'll be darned, but 98% of the people had a massive shift at the end of using the process. And I realized, wow, this is actually something. And then, so I continued to write the book, and it took me so long because at first it felt like just one big giant personal journal. And I thought, no, I don't want, this isn't about a personal journal in the world. This is about how can I walk with other people that are going through what I've been through, and we can walk together through it and get to the other side. And so long story short, I finished the book. It got published in May of 2018, but I had finished it the year before. And no, sorry, 2019. And the book, then I changed the name to GPS to Joy, Navigate Life's Turbulence and Toughest Transitions to Find Your New Direction. And so the motivation was, I wrote it as an honor, as a love story to my daughter, kind of like a love letter, not a love letter. Like, if I died tomorrow, this book would kind of say, all right, kid, here's how you get through without me. And then it was a tribute to my late husband, who was, he was just such a light and such a joy. He had such a beautiful legacy, a heart, and, he was a healer, and he was a heart-centered, beautiful man. And I wanted to write the book as a tribute to the legacy that he left for me, to live an amazing, beautiful life filled with love and light. And so the book was also a tribute to him and our marriage. So that's what motivated it.
Well, we have a lot of things in common. I mean, I lost it wasn't my mother, father, it was my father, then my mother, then my husband. Within not so as short a distance as you. But, you know, all during that process, I had been with my husband for 40 plus years and had really been introduced to spirituality and Buddhist meditation, and having a spiritual practice really came from Jeffrey's. Jeffrey had been a Buddhist, a student of Buddhism for 40 years.
Wow.
And I grew up in a family that was very socially conscious, not particularly spiritual. We, you know, we were culturally religious and Jewish, but it wasn't the same as Jeffrey's upbringing. Anyway, he really taught me and Noah and I a lot about creating a spiritual life and having spiritual teachers. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so the time when I left, when he left, he died of Parkinson's in 2017. And Noah and I had cared for him for several years before he was diagnosed in 2012. We cared for him for several years, and he was in assisted living, and we cared for him there. I was, you know, first of all, I was grateful that he had understood what his legacy was and how important a spiritual teacher he was to so many people. He started a program called the Heart of Recovery in the Buddhist Meditation Center.
Wow.
Which was for people who had any addiction issue at all, didn't necessarily believe in a higher power, wanted to meditate, and he actually created, I'm sure you're familiar with the Serenity Prayer.
Yes.
And anyway, he worked with AA to create a authorized Buddhist version of the Serenity Prayer, which I'll know or I can say to you before we get off the call.
Wonderful.
And, you know, what I learned from Jeffrey was all we have is the moment. Moment. You know, the past is past, the future isn't here. And we have this moment. And what are we going to, you know, the choices from Landmark, you know, we make the choice. How are we going to live this moment?
Yes. Yeah.
And, you know, even if what I've come to understand, Maryl, even if there wasn't you know, a sudden death or a tragic death or stuff like that, you know, for people who haven't had that, they still have to live the moment.
Yeah.
You know, basically, Jeffrey gave many people the gift of two things: you gotta live in the moment, and all there is love. And those are pretty good guiding poles for me, and that I, you know, pass on to my children, and they pass on to me, because Noah and I have learned some of this together. And in terms of books, just to, you know, this is not in this topic, but a book that I was involved in helping to create was called Our Bodies Ourselves. And it came out of the civil rights movement and my activism and the women's movement. And I did a first workshop at the first women's conference in Boston in May of 1969. So it's been 50 plus years since I did the first workshop called Women in Their Bodies. And the book is about women's reproductive health and sexuality. And it draws together, you know, factual evidence, women's lived experience, and a political analysis of the healthcare system. And we've sold many millions of copies, and it's in 31 languages. And an interesting thing, a woman is here helping me who's from Uganda. And there's a new woman who's on the Our Bodies Ourselves board, Diana, who did a translation of the Our Bodies Ourselves into the Uganda language. And turns out Brenda and she are good friends.
Oh, wow.
She didn't know anything about it.
Wow.
And
That's remarkable.
so I'm very proud of that work that was, really had made a difference in my life and the lives of millions of people.
Well, and even now, I feel like now your work, like if your work were a bottle of wine, now it's opened, right? Now the aromatic, like it has come to be fully matured and perfect to drink. If you look at how women are now and how there really isn't a right way to look anymore. Like women of all sizes and shapes and colors and points of view have voices, have a place, I mean, I just think of the advertisement where they showed women in yoga pants from the back, and there were hourglass women, and there were thin women, and there were bigger, like, women of all sizes. And I thought, wow, we now become way more real and embracing, where we can embrace ourselves, however we want to be. And it started with you.
Well, what I would say is also, the way I look at it is in terms of women's health issues. When I organized an big abortion demonstration in Boston in '72, I thought, we'll never have to do that again. Roe v. Wade's going to pass. And, that all came to pass. But it didn't come to pass, and there'll never be another demonstration. I just need to use my energy to share history with younger women. So
Yes.
when they go out on the front lines now, they can have some sense of, that there's some ground underneath them.
Yeah. So there's different aspects. There's self-image, right? And then there's choice.
Right.
And then there's, Carolina, who Noah and I both know is really addressing the aspect of shame connected to the choice. So I say, that piece, right? The emotional undercurrents of whatever choice.
Right.
Another piece. Yeah. And well, and so in my wandering.
The I would share with you is my husband and I were in business together for most of my adult life. So in terms when I lost not just him as a life partner, I lost him as a business partner.
Wow.
And we did another book before he passed. Actually, we released the book the year he was diagnosed with Parkinson's, called You and Your Partner Inc. Entrepreneurial Couples Succeeding in Business, Life, and Love.
Oh, wow. Fantastic. Beautiful book.
And you can get it on Amazon.
Well, you have used everything that you've learned and shared it with the world. And what a gift to do that. It takes a lot of, being a writer it takes something to step into that.
Yeah, well,
and share.
The thing
Share.
our bodies ourselves had an organic process, Maryl, where we were talking about the issues and did a course and wrote some papers, and people said, we want a book, and we put the mimeograph papers together and, and then found a publisher. But when we had sold 250,000 by word of mouth, publishers in New York were very interested.
Mm.
And Simon & Schuster was the one who won the bid. And we've supported Simon & Schuster very well over the years.
Wow.
And, with You and Your Partner Inc., we self-published it. And it took 7 years. You say 33 years to write your book. I thought that's a very short time. It took 7 years for Jeffrey and I to do the book.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for me, I had all these different thoughts, and it was, putting it into a construct, and then allowing for that it was good, because my original view was, well, what if this is just one big giant complex journal? And I wasn't interested in sort of opening my heart and bleeding, if you will, just for profit. I really wanted something that would move things forward for people and take us through those spaces, so so I got to let go that I got to embrace that it actually could be good. And then and I've gotten just tremendous feedback, like the difference the book makes. So, you know, that was the point. That is the whole point, you know?
So I'd like to send you a copy of You and Your Partner Inc. and I'd love a copy of your book.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
We'll do
Well,
a-
and you know, what's so remarkable about, I mean, you actually started out as a teacher and an educator, you and your husband.
Therapist. We started out therapists.
Oh, therapist. Okay. So,
We wound up teaching and training and doing all sorts of things, but
oh yeah. So I've been an entrepreneur. So I've shifted from, I've always been a healer, kind of off the record. But I trained as an entrepreneur. And so this shift into coaching and mentoring around how do we move through these spaces is really my soul's calling. And it finally rang loud enough for me in the last few years. So yeah, so the book came, and now I'm doing programs, and I'm doing resiliency and joy coaching. And it's moving, right? Being an entrepreneur was great, but doing this, I would do it all day. And if I didn't have to sleep, it'd be even better because I really enjoy it so much. So that's amazing. So what are you doing? So what is it? What are you doing now? Or what are you reading now? Or where you know, what strikes your fancy at this point?
well, what strikes my fancy right now is getting ready to move into an independent living environment with other people.
Mm-hmm.
I've lived on my own for the last 4 years since Jeffrey passed.
Yes.
I mean, since he was in, assisted living and passed. And I have a beautiful apartment, a wonderful space. I'm really near Noah and his partner, Adrian, which is wonderful. And I'm moving to a place, I'm tired of living by myself. I'm much too social a person,
Mm-hmm.
much to share. And just the companionship, you understand if you've lost
Yes.
the companionship of having somebody to, make meals with and go for a walk with and decide you're going to take a trip with and etc.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love.
I was going to move at the end of March, and
Yeah.
then this happened, and I'm in
Yes.
my apartment in the midst of half packed boxes, and I've got to get back to it because maybe I'll move at the end of April, and if not at the end of April, then the end of May. I'm not going to move until Noah and other friends can come and be with me in the new place.
Yes.
I'm not going to
Well,
be
yes.
confined to a studio apartment, period.
Yeah. Well, Miriam, I want to say you have no idea how important what you said is, or how profound it is. That you are being proactive to see what it is you want, know what you need, and take action to go there is something to be something to be acknowledged for, because I know so many people, I don't know what happens at what age, where they just say, you know what, I'm not doing anything. I'm not moving. I'm not cleaning. I'm just going to basically sit here until, ostensibly until my life is over. And that you can be a voice for, wait a minute, it's not over till it's over. So let's just keep this, let's keep this parade going,
So Maryl,
yeah.
have you done Landmark? Have you done the forum?
I have.
Okay. I mean, because one of the things that's been very inspiring since all this has come down the road is having these gratitude gatherings with Noah every day and checking in with other people, but also being on Landmark calls led by Landmark Forum leaders with 1,000 people from around the world.
Yeah, I've been on a few of those.
And just feeling, inspired and reminded that we all get to create our lives. That's
it.
In the moment, we get to create our lives in the moment.
In the moment.
This moment may be a pandemic. The next moment may be a pandemic, and the next moment may not be.
Yeah, I'm just saying there, I mean, I watched my own folks. I mean, I watched so many people that were over the age of 70 that just struggled because they, I don't know what it was that was in the way of them actually putting themselves in the best possible situation for where they were in the moment. So I'm
Yeah.
not really sure what that is, but I
had a
appreciate
mother-
you
I had a
being
mother
there.
who lived to 99.
Say that again.
I had a mother who lived to 99
Yeah.
and knew how to live life and live her death. And so
Wow.
I was very blessed with having that teaching.
Wow. Yeah. Well,
So
it's
Noah, what are you making of listening to us?
say
This,
that.
this is phenomenal because when you get two people who have learned and contributed as much as the two of you have together, this is the kind of magical conversation that happens. And so I am so thankful that both of you just literally happened to show up in the exact order that you did after I figured out how to capture this conversation. This is a beautiful, beautiful interview that you guys have both just done together. And I am so thankful because I'm working on my book of poetry called Awakened by Whispering Love.
I
And
love your poetry.
I am incredibly inspired by the journey that each of you has shared with us and me today about what it means to learn about yourself and your life through writing your book. And this just means the world to me to have time with two people who I just cherish and admire in two very different domains that are coming together now. And I'm so much more excited to go through my journey in writing my book now that I've heard about your journey in writing your books.
Well, and you know, I love Eat, Pray, Love. Talk about a woman with a journey. Elizabeth Gilbert. She's a lot of fun. And, you know, in terms of, you know, having breakdowns and not knowing and, you know, and just kind of throwing into the wind and just living in the moment. I mean, that great writer and great stories, but oh, what great lessons from her books.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there anything you guys want to say, learning what you've learned, about what you see to be grateful for in the future or moving forward, kind of in our lives or in our world? And it may be a simple word, it may be a vision you have, kind of how we can move forward to keep creating the world that we really deeply desire in the face of whatever's happening.
Keep doing whatever practices you do that let you know you love yourself. You've got to start with loving yourself, and then you can extend that love out to other people. The other thing is stay in community, because none of us do this alone. We have to have practices that we practice, you know, on our own cushion, so to speak. But we do it in community. And one of the things I'm grateful for this technology, and you know, Noah, because we've talked about this, is the fact that we have Zoom, we have YouTube, we have this technology that allows us to stay in relationship with one another, connected with one another. Earlier this morning, I was reading something about all the virtual seders and thinking about how to do our seder on Saturday night. And, you know, online, I discovered there are lots of Haggadahs and that we can, you know, pick and choose from. I mean, it's very exciting that as a human race, we are using the technology to remain connected and maybe to get more connected.
Yes.
More.
Because you have to bring an intention to it. Yeah. 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 Well, in fact, I was on one last night and it was very moving. And so Chag Sameach to you both.
Chag Sameach.
And, you know, well, I love this. One of my principles is act from love, which you pretty much said, you know, you communicated that. I mean, if we take action from love, regardless of that action toward ourselves or others, or it really can make things pretty clear on what to do and not do. But another note to speak to your question going forward, one of my big teachings is trust the transitions. But more than that, trust ourselves inside of these transitions. That we can
I'm gonna
trust
do a
ourselves.
collage for yourself, for you in that, for that.
Say that again?
I'm gonna do a collage for you with that. Trust yourself
Sure.
inside the transitions. No one can
Yes.
tell you about the collages.
Okay, beautiful. And, because inside of trusting ourselves, we will, and acting from love, we will take on those practices. We will steel ourselves, or we will build our inner resiliency or inner resources. Those might be natural actions to take inside of trusting ourselves. We'll know what it is that we need to do. We'll know we'll know when the time is right, what choice to make based on trusting and loving. And so, because we don't know what the future holds, but we definitely can build our skills at trusting and loving, those choices every day. So Noah, I could say more because I'm an eternal optimist, but even for those of us that aren't eternal optimists, for those of us that really are pessimists, whether you are optimistic or pessimistic does not matter. If you take on a couple of ground rules, which is practices, like Miriam said, love, acting from love and choosing from love, and trusting ourselves and trusting these transitions. Whether you think they're good or bad, it doesn't matter. If you do those things, we'll find our way through to the other side. That's my view.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.